All right, we're at the March Commissioners meeting, monthly update, and would you guys go ahead and tell us what's new this month?
Where do we start?
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, we did go, we went to Helena. Had we gone to Helena before this last?
I don't
year?
think so.
Well, we went to Helena and we got our Montana Association of County. It was a very good meeting and it was a 4-day meeting and I don't know, it was very uplifting actually.
Spent 4 days in meetings, but mostly meeting other commissioners and politicians, of course, helping that.
Does that help kind of get ideas of what they do in their
It
county?
definitely helps.
We were well received, unbelievably so. I mean, we had many people coming up and talking to us very supportive and friendly like, and they were willing to ask us about our opinion, not just, so that was really kind of a nice one.
Well,
Plus, we got to,
I didn't go, but I was requested not to.
Mike,
No, I had something else going on.
Mike Goffney met the governor, shook his hand.
Shook his
Nice.
hand and got him aside and said, "You gotta do something about our coal mine."
Did you? Yes. What did he say?
He said, "We gotta get rid of Malloy."
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
But he doesn't have that power.
So now, is Malloy is a
Federal judge.
federal judge, right?
judge.
So we
Very
this
liberal federal judge, of course, so.
yeah, that's causing havoc.
But I also cornered Dames, and I cornered the representative for John Tester, and they were supposed to get to him, but Dames and the governor and Rosendale and Zinke all wrote a letter to the Department of Interior trying to mitigate this ruling, so maybe they'll get something done. They have the power to do that if they really wanted to, but I'm afraid our Department of Interior is not coal mine friendly.
The Department of Interior.
Mm-hmm.
How can that be?
How can that be? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they giving a full understanding of what coal means in the state of Montana?
Actually, worldwide. These other countries can either burn clean coal or dirty coal. They
Yeah.
don't burn coal.
Yeah.
And they're trying to transition into a carbon-free environment, or at least a global warming environment, and they can't get there. You can't without this coal.
Like, there's reasonable steps that could be
Yeah.
taken.
Yes.
Right.
And the first step is what Japan's doing. They're buying our coal because it's high BTU and low sulfur, a lot better than any other coal they can get.
Mhm.
So that's where they're starting. But if we stop shipping,
I think they're part of the Paris Accord too.
Yeah.
They are.
You know, so that's part of how they're trying to reduce their carbon footprint. So,
Those are some issues. We're talking about us, three fellas, going to Billings and talking to the representatives and senators, our national representatives and senators, about that very issue, because there are a number of things that they could push for that may very well
help us out.
mitigate that decision that was made.
Yeah, I know the expectation was that when they passed the marijuana, there would be all this new tax money.
Mhm.
But what I can see on the montana.gov, it does not look like very much revenue from that, and nothing in significance to the coal revenue.
Well,
Oh,
that's
no.
another issue that we were talking about. Did you, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, there's a considerable amount of money that they're collecting. The Department of Revenue. And where it's going to, Fish and Game was the first one to grab their hands on it.
Now, this is the coal revenue you're speaking to?
No,
The
no,
marijuana
marijuana revenue.
Okay,
And that's all, and we're talking about cash transactions here that are being
Right.
reported to the Montana Department of Revenue. You can imagine the vast majority of those are not reported. So there's a lot of
Yes.
money changing hands, it's not being taxed, but what little is, it's a sizable sum. It's going towards purchasing properties and purchasing access to, public properties.
Fishing access.
Exactly, and we were asking, we testified before a bill, or were present during the testimony of a bill that would take at least 10% of those funds to purchase that land so that we could build a county, or if there's an existing road there, we could make it countywide, or at least up to county standards, if it is a public county road.
On which road?
Any road.
Oh, on any road. Oh, I
within the
see.
state.
Oh,
We were
I see.
met by all kinds of pressure from sportsmen's groups, not fishing game, but sportsmen's groups that did not want that, because they want all the money they can get just to buy the land and not know how to get there, which was baffling to us. I mean, why would they do that?
Yeah, we figured some of that money should be going towards roads.
You gotta be able to get there.
Because if they own this land, they wanna have a road to it.
Mm.
And maybe there is a road to it, but it's not up to the standards.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, it was interesting that Capitol was a madhouse.
It
Oh,
was.
God.
Yeah, we actually were able to go to the Capitol and watch, the legislative process at work. It was very interesting.
Oh, that's wonderful. Is that the first time you guys have been there?
No.
First time in probably 10, 12 years.
Have you ever been there, Bob?
Been to Helena, but not to the Capitol.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like when they're talking about all these bills and hearings, it sounds like living hell.
Yes. Sounds like a headache, doesn't
It's
it?
like, my God, but we have participated in like a Zoom, opposition or proponent to a bill. And some of these speakers are really polished.
Oh, yeah,
They
definitely.
reminded me of, Who Shot Liberty Valance, when the guys start to talk about making it a territory, and they get up and talk. And so these guys come in and they say why the bill should be passed or failed, and it's impressive.
It seems like there's more bills than there are people in Montana.
Oh yeah, that's why I said it sounds like hell. It's like, how are you ever gonna get through this? And you gotta listen to what people have to say.
Yeah.
There's like 4,500 bills presented, but I suppose at least a third of them never made it to reading.
Which
They
is,
run out of time.
yeah, and so you wonder, like, how much time and money is spent on that kind of stuff. You think, like, how is a bill made?
Those bills were written by, have you ever watched Blazing Saddles?
Years ago, I don't really
There's a
remember.
fellow in the name of Gabby Johnson.
He writes a lot of bills.
And I swear Gabby Johnson wrote a lot of those bills. That's why they didn't get very far. Actually,
Come up with an idea.
we saw some testimony that was right up there with Gabby Johnson's ability to speak. So
But they'll come up with an idea and their staff will write it up and they'll present it. But a lot of, and these new people up there, they have to feel like they have to present a bill, because that's why they're there.
Mhm.
But I like to send them up there to kill bills that we don't like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what I would do if I was up there. I'd just look at all them bills and no. But in transmittal, they transmittal here the third, I guess. Of course, and about another third of the bills are gone because they never made it out of any of the hearings.
yeah.
So you guys were up there when they were doing all that.
Yeah,
That'd have been crazy.
They're actually.
I spent my time running around trying to find Greg Oblander and Barry Usher. And I seen Barry once. I was up above and he went out that north door I reversed down there. Yeah, he was gone.
Barry Usher?
Yeah, but we did run into Greg.
Mhm.
But Barry gave me an interview
Did he?
before the election. I don't know if you guys watched it or not. It was about the same time, Mike, that I did yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's done quite well.
Yeah. He seems like he's really representing the people in
Oh,
his
yeah.
area very
So
well.
is Greg.
He's
Greg was
pretty-
surprisingly doing well too.
Great,
Really well.
yeah. I haven't had much chance
And he's enjoying
to
it,
speak to
which
him.
is scary.
Who?
Greg Oblander, our
Oh, yeah.
representative.
Yeah, he spoke at the Republican committee.
Yeah.
He's a pretty sharp guy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He was very well informed and informed us of things and.
I thought he presented really well here when they came to do the, little speech before the election.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it turns out he's really good at it. And he's enjoying it.
Should we be afraid about that? No, I'm just
But yeah.
bantering you guys.
But you know, up there in Mako, like Mike said, I mean, it's surprising, I noticed that people were coming up to us and asking our opinion about different things. Who should run for Mako leadership and who,
Exactly.
What is Mako leadership?
well, they have a chairman, or president, I guess, president, and then they got a first vice president and a second vice president. And the way they advance is the second vice president becomes the first vice president, become the president over a 3 or 4 year period, so maybe a little longer. But visiting with other commissioners is why we go there. Most everything we really learn is at the bar, so.
I didn't think you guys went to the bar, right?
Oh, I know, I did, I always have water. But no, it's true, though, that's where you start talking to people and finding out how other counties are handling issues that we have, and how they're handling them, and what problems they're having. Turns out we're having about the same kind of problems.
Yeah,
But it's very
speaking of
interesting.
water,
Yeah,
you know what the cowboys say?
I know it.
Whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting,
Yeah.
right? How are you enjoying your water situation?
I honestly think that's gonna work itself out. We just
Yeah.
follow the process. A lot of it's noise. We've got the PER, we'll do the hearings, we'll see what comes out of that, and, it'll be what it's gonna be, you know?
Yeah.
But it,
Well, and people are concerned of what it's gonna cost, and I can understand that. So, and at least, if we have less people in this district, it's gonna cost more.
Mhm.
Simple as that.
people are afraid they're gonna get trapped into having to pay for water.
Yeah.
And so, we just keep stressing, if you're out of the district, you're out of the district. Doesn't mean you can't get back in, but that's between you and the district in the future, but if you're out, you're out. And that's our understanding.
And even the cost is gonna be predicated, not, obviously it's by how many people, cause that's how it's divided up by.
Right.
But maybe it's gonna be just the same cost per person when it's only those on the north side, or only those on the south side, or wherever the nearest to where the main water line goes. So it's all gonna be predicated on who wants in, who wants out, and how it's gonna be shaped, and those kind of issues that we don't have the answer to yet, so.
Right. So then after the deadline for everybody to get their opt-out in, then are you gonna have like any kind of statement about, look, if you're in at this point, you can expect this amount, plus your building infrastructure to your house?
I think that's.
It's coming that way, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, I mean, we have the PER, but that's something we need to circle back on, because it
Yeah.
really, the
Well-
PER assumes so many people.
And he's right.
And so we need to kind of see, was this assumption on the mark or off the mark? We might have to want to get back with the engineering firm, but I think that's a really good idea, because, and that's part of these hearings,
Sure.
you know, is to kind of kick that around. So at the end of the hearings, everybody knows, and knows what they're up against, and then there's a vote.
We're gonna have to do the research that he's talking about so that we can answer their questions regarding that. But it's all because we're not gonna be able to do a thing until we know who's in and who's
Yeah.
out and how it's
Right.
shaped and.
So it's just a matter of waiting at this point and then going from there.
And it's a fair process, these hearings are
Yeah.
probably, I thought the PER, the last meeting was very productive, and, it laid out what the assumptions were, this is the cost, and there were questions asked, and, now we're gonna kick it around further, but ultimately it's gonna come to a vote.
Yeah.
And then it's the outcome of the vote that lands in our court, what do we do with that, you know?
And it'll just be people who have opted in that will be voting on it at that
Yes.
point.
See, that's a really interesting point, so you would think if only the people that opted in, if only the people that didn't opt out or protested
Right.
formed the district, you would think you'd have more than 40% of the vote.
Right, yeah.
Simple as that.
Well, I think a lot of people were questioning the definition of where that, like, is that vote the whole county voting on it? Or is it
No.
just the subdivision
It's supposed to be
voting on it?
members of the
Or
district,
is
is what I
it
understand.
just the
Potential
people
members of.
who are like, yes, we want it, voting on it? And I think that's been a big question among,
It's just the landowners out there, they're the only ones that affect, so they're the only ones that vote.
We gotta kind of firm that up in our mind with the county attorney though, because then it is like, well, yeah, you've got the people that want it in the district. The idea is that this is the people in the district, so you form the district to match these people. And then, you know, if you get a vote and it's favorable, you would expect that, but how did that affect your PER?
True.
right,
Well,
yes, 'cause
Exactly.
that'll determine then how expensive it
Right.
really is going to be. And then mines might change again.
Exactly.
Will they have an option after that
They
to
will.
then,
There's more than an even chance, I'd say, that we're gonna go around it. And it'd probably be another year, and then they're gonna have hookups on each one of those roads going into there as they go down Alec Roy. And maybe next year they'll say, well, maybe we do want it, and they can run it in there at that time. So I think that's what Monty's decided he's gonna do. He's gonna go to the city and then head straight east over to Alec Roy. Because he wants to get the Millstone. We want to get the Millstone.
yeah, right,
That's
Millstone
another
wants
study
it.
we fund.
right.
And of course, the Hudray colony out there.
And Millstone's been paying quite a bit as a city for their treatment.
Yes,
and
they
their-
have.
So they'll be happy, I mean, you
They were
know,
like $105 a resident, and they were actually in debt about $30,000 because they weren't getting enough.
Yeah, they weren't charging enough for their water.
Because they had high maintenance
To maintain their
systems,
system.
right,
so.
So they got a grant to deal with their water issues in terms of getting their system
Yeah,
cleaned and used. And then they're gonna upgrade all their meters and everything. But then they're also then they'll get this new water once
yeah, but it'll be 2 years from
Yeah,
now, so they
yeah.
had to have water in the meantime.
they had to fix it for now, so.
I have a couple more questions I just wanted to ask real quick. How is the, and this may be a city question, the restrooms over at the fair, or not the fairground, but the park
Oh,
area?
yeah,
How's that coming along?
which part of the park?
Well, it's,
Okay, this
it's
is the-
beyond the swimming
I s-
pool over there.
I suppose they just
Yeah.
really can't start till spring.
No, probably not.
You'd have to ask Mayor Jones. She can
Okay.
tell you.
Yeah, I'll try to catch up with her. And then,
They gotta get
The-
What is trying to happen though with that is we're trying to coordinate the setup of that
bathroom.
train with
And-
the one at the fairgrounds to lower the cost between the two, so.
With the
Oh.
crane,
okay,
Crane.
and sort of mobilize the crane once instead of having to mobilize it for us and then mobilize it for them at different times.
that's a good
Yeah, they need a
plan.
different crane to pick that thing out of the parking lot.
I haven't
where
even
it's
seen
supposed
it,
to
is
be.
it nice? Is it?
Yeah.
Are they gonna set one at the future Bear Collins Park?
Well, I think we'll have to have a bathroom down there if we're gonna make any kind of recreation.
Maybe
area.
they can get you a 3-for-1 special and you can go ahead and get that
Maybe.
rounded. Has there been any more, public meetings on the Bear Collins?
There's one coming up, well, it's gonna be in April now, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe maybe you guys can
Yeah,
let me
we're
know
gonna
and I'll
get that
post that.
together, we're gonna continue working on that. And, there was a whole lot of suggestions, you were at that. meeting.
Yes, that was really
I
interesting.
thought some were really good.
Yeah, and that's what we gotta narrow those down and vote on them and see what we can do. But it's it's something that needs to be done.
Yeah,
I still think that zip line's the best thing.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Like,
And the
that's a good
fishing pond,
point. A fishing pond would be
The
nice.
fishing pond,
Zip line and drop yourself off in the pond.
yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Let's see, what else was I gonna ask?
Yeah,
Oh,
what else?
the golden thimble, cause I see you have that on your board up there. Anything new with that?
We're trying to purchase a building on Main Street to expand the Golden Thimble, but it's a slow process. So we're having bake sales every week trying to raise the money.
Oh, are ya?
Yeah.
As long as Cheryl's cooking.
we're talking
You
about
might
shall
not
it
be
be
trouble.
chocolate or shall it be chocolate chip?
Oh.
We're kinda having that little
Yeah.
You should have a couple open meetings on that first.
Yeah. But no, Vimbo is out of the room, so, and then the food bank needs to expand anyway. We have a very good employee over there at that food bank.
Is that Virginia Carlson?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Back
I've been
when
going to have an interview
She
with her.
started, they was serving like 35 families, and now they're up to 140.
Oh, wow.
She's just working it, and she's good at it, and she enjoys it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's a positive deal, you know, because a lot of people don't want to have to go get food and,
No.
you know, it should be a positive thing.
Well, the previous director looked down on people that come got it. I mean, she was not a very good people person.
Oh.
But Virginia is a very good people person.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get an interview with Virginia here.
You should.
I had one scheduled and then we ended up having to reschedule, which was
aside-
my fault, not hers.
Set aside quite a bit of time when she starts talking.
She's really passionate about what she's
She's
doing.
passionate about
That's
it.
excellent. Good.
She came in here talking about she probably should get a raise, and we all agreed with her. We didn't give her one, but we agreed with her.
So speaking of raises, that was the thing I needed to circle back, you know,
Okay,
the circle back. Circle back. So on the Brad marking, situation, did you guys come to a finale on that?
Not yet. No, it's still an issue.
I see. But the city, last time I checked, is within the county, right? And he's county
No,
paid?
we took it out.
Oh, you took it out? So maybe he does need two different ones. Okay, well,
Yeah, we petitioned to remove the city from the county. Didn't we do that?
that way when you work in the city, you can get a different paycheck.
That's right.
Got it.
No, that issue's still open, so we're gonna see how that plays out. Brad's Brad.
So, yeah, I suppose you gotta figure that out here before what was his deadline?
90 days, yeah, I don't know exactly when the clock started, but.
Well, I think you're down to 60,
Is it?
Yeah.
cause we've been a month.
Yeah, okay.
The door's closing in.
Yeah. Well, it's not a simple issue as he thinks. He think, you know, he's doing the city cases too, but the reason he's doing the city cases is because when we have fines come from the city, we can keep half of it. But if it comes from the county, all the fines in the county, 100% of it goes to the state.
Actually, I'm gonna correct you.
Yeah.
Is
The
it
county,
that way?
the county fines get split between us and the state. City fines we keep.
Yes.
And the issue is it's really a county fine, but it's in the city.
Yeah.
So, so the mayor said the only real city things are the ordinances, which are very, very, very few fines, so. It's a little, like Mike said, it's a little more complicated than it sounds, I don't know if I'm making sense, but.
Well, the upshot is if he stops doing the city, and we'd just be moving them to the county, and he'd be doing the same
Right,
workload.
yeah.
He just won't be doing any city work, they won't really need him, because they could get a judge in there once a month probably and do what they need to do.
They really only have to deal with their ordinances,
Yeah,
so they would just hire somebody to deal with very, very few ordinances.
most of them fines, of course, are speeding, or DUIs, or even drug cases that go through here, 'cause that's a highway.
Right. My thought is just as a taxpayer, if the tax money is paying his salary and the city's in the county, what difference does it make?
Yeah, true. It all depends where the money comes from.
No,
Right
It's
now,
still coming from the taxpayer.
well, the mayor's point is, look, you can call these city fines, but they're not, they're county fines, and if you force us to get our own people to deal with the city fines, we'll only have to deal with a few of them that deal with ordinances. You'll still have to deal with the rest of them because that's part of the county. And so, it's kinda, you know, and I'm sure Brad doesn't see it that way, but
It's the way it is.
it is, and it's kinda gonna, I think it's gonna work itself out here when we come up on the 90 days, it depends on what he's gonna do. We can't give him a raise, and
And we've explained that to us.
It's gotta come in a budget cycle, we have to consider the compensation board, and we can't give him an inordinate raise relative to others, because he's an elected official. We'd have to have a,
If you give him a raise, then you have to give all elected officials the same raise.
Yeah, well, I don't
Now, we
know
don't
that.
mind for the commissioners, but we.
Yeah. I understand people need raises, but, you know, all the taxpayers aren't getting raises around here either.
No, no.
well, we were really, we gave pretty substantial raises last year that were long past due, and, but now this coal thing, that's scary.
It's very,
We have to be really careful what we do going forward.
And we're coming up on budget time.
Yeah, this will be here before you know it, we'll be cranking through all that stuff again.
well, you guys have done really well, and especially, considering how much chaos there was before. It seems like you've gotten it very well in order.
We take turns napping during our meetings.
That's the key
There's
to our
somebody,
success.
there's one person always awake at every time.
Yeah.
So that way you all stay fresh,
That's right.
ready to go. You're all ready to
Exactly.
go.
For the next challenge.
Well,
And one more little comment about Brad, and that is that you cannot use fine money to justify your salary. You can't. The sheriff can't, and neither can justice court. That is an absolute given, state law, anybody's law.
And you understand why.
So,
well, it could create corruption, right?
Well, the whole idea is you don't wanna motivate the sheriff and the judge to create fines. I mean,
exactly.
It's so we can't tie that, we can't do that. So,
Yeah. That's a very
It's a
good point,
conflict of it.
right?
yeah, I mean, if you know that your salary's dependent on, the sheriff goes, heck, my salary's dependent on how many tickets I write. Well, he's gonna be writing all kinds of tickets. Some people might think that's good, but it really shouldn't be, it should be motivated by, people, the law, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, guys. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Well, I can tell you that one thing we did at Mako was kind of fun, and so the Department of Corrections, head of the Department of Corrections gave us a talk. And of course, it turned around to jails, we gotta have more jails, we gotta have regional jails.
Yes, we do.
And Granite County Commissioner stood up and said, well, we had a jail that was 80 years old and we built a new one. Well, that was great, but to build a jail, and so I stood up and said, we got a jail that's 120 years old. And everybody goes, what? And I said, yeah. And he said, they turned theirs into a tourist attraction. And I said, well, we have tourists at our jail, but they're not there to look at it. They're in it. But yeah, they couldn't believe we had a 120-year-old jail and
Yeah.
still operating. It's actually older than the county.
Wow.
Because we were part of Fergus County, they built the jail over here. I think we had the most crime.
They must have built it good, man.
Oh, they did.
They sure knew how to build jails back then, I'll tell you what.
Well, I don't think Lavina doesn't have
No.
any place to hold, and
Gold
neither
Valley
does
doesn't have
Petroleum.
it. Neither does Petroleum.
So,
And-
does Garfield County? They must have something.
I don't know, I haven't been to their jail.
I remember when in the basement of their courthouse used to
Yeah.
have a little locked-up room.
And they still do,
they still-
it's only for overnight stay, I think.
Yeah.
When we were there, met up with the sheriff and kind of showed me that. It was kind of, and it was a neat little deal.
What you saying,
Hope
Mike,
I never see that again, but.
because the jails are so full, especially like in Billings, like only 20% of the convicted felons are in jail, the rest of them. they
Yeah,
can't-
that's
they
statewide.
can't.
Only 20% of convicted felons are incarcerated. The other 80% are not. That's statewide.
So what is gonna happen?
Well,
That's
something's
not
gonna
a-
have to happen.
That is not a recipe for success.
The thing is
No.
become a jail building contractor. With a robust workforce, and you'll probably make all the money you can.
They're having to import people from other states just to
Because they
work
can't.
in our incarcerating system.
Is it just our state? No, it's surely not.
Well, I know it's
Probably
probably a
not.
common problem.
Right.
But the company I worked for was gonna do a big project in LA, and they were gonna spend $1 billion on a mental health facility and a city jail, and a county jail, I guess. And the idea was to kind of make sure you're not to give the people the resources they need, so that you're not just jailing people with mental illness and stuff like that. Sounded like a great idea, but
Well,
it didn't work because the county people didn't want it in their county. That's $1 billion project.
Which it does provide jobs.
It provides jobs, they just didn't want that. But I think there's a huge tie between drugs, mental illness, and jail,
Right.
you know.
Of
And
course
so
there is.
just putting people in jail isn't the answer, so it's it's an expensive problem, quite frankly.
we have a huge system, obviously, in Montana where those they're pre-released, you can either be under surveillance or you can, and while you're under probation, they'll find a job for you. And there's a number of employers that are willing to take part in that. They get some good people.
Yeah.
What they're doing though is they're trying to improve that concept just a little bit more than not just simply call it a job, but work it into a career type of mindset for that person. Because the recidivism under that concept has been much, much lower under the career system. Getting that in this person's mind that's what he's going to be working into.
Yeah, they train them some kind of skill in
Yeah.
jail.
That makes perfect
Exactly.
sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, working is important. I mean, it's really,
Really important.
it's probably much better mentally for them than just sitting there.
Building license plates.
Yeah, that would be tough, you know, we all need to feel like we have meaning and purpose, so that'd be tough feeling like.
It wouldn't work for everybody in jail, but it's
We
certainly
struggle
a big
with
help.
that ourselves.
Between
Yeah.
naps.
Every day I have that thought.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and
Thanks,
turn
Mel.
this off. Yeah, thank you very much.